Welcome back to TFR. Ramy Adeeb is back for part 2 of our VC predictions for 2022. In this part, we cover this decade's biggest losers, Google's competition with ChatGPT, Andreesen versus Tiger, and finally, we do a quick fire round of sectors Ramy's bullish and bearish on in the year ahead. Here is part 2 of our predictions with Ramy Adeeb.
Welcome to the podcast about venture capital, where investors and founders alike can learn how VCs make decisions and reach conviction. Your host is Nick Moran, and this is The Full Ratchet.
So, Ramy, we got to talk a little crypto and FTX here. You had a very nice profile in Fortune titled "A VC Who's Been Panning Crypto Since 2017 Discusses Where He's Investing Now." So the key question is, Ramy, where are you investing now? And be honest with us, Ramy, how much Solana do you still hold?
How many or how much? How many Solanas? A lot. How much? The dollar value. I think downward move. I think we're in the 5-digit world.
Okay. Well, we'll hold out and wait. Hopefully 18 months.
Up a totally rebound. Yes.
I tell you what, there were a lot of VCs that were kind of jeering me a little bit because I didn't put cash reserves and management fee reserves and whatnot in Bitcoin and Ether last year. And I shudder to think what's going on with their portfolios at this point.
No, and honestly, it was tough to do that, Nick. Like, we closed our second fund last year and we're very fortunate. We closed $75 million. A lot of our LPs told us, are you going to invest in crypto? And I said, no. And they're like, okay, fine. Well, here's a small allocation. And they were very candid with me. They wanted to allocate more of their money to crypto. And one of them was straight out asked me, Ramy, why just expand the crypto fund, start a parallel crypto fund? And I told them it's so outside of what we believe in, outside of our ethos. It's not where we have an edge, and the whole thing is a scam. But if you want crypto funds, I can introduce you. They're like, yes, please. So I would go introduce them to my friends who are on crypto funds, and I became a very popular friend to all the crypto funds because I was the guy sending them LPs, which is a good position to be on. But it is.
How true is that? In 21, every LP was asking, when are you going to spin up a crypto fund?
Yeah, and it was stressful because also, I think I might have shared this article. One of our LPs is a big institution that's invested in many funds. They told us very candidly, look, you guys are somewhere between top quartile and top decile for your vintage. But if we include crypto funds, you're at the bottom. And it's so harsh. And it's look, our fund was 2 years old at the time. And it's the crypto funds that were 2 years old were 10x. And obviously no VC fund is going to be 10x in 2 years. And that was just the average crypto fund was up 10x. And it's what if we're wrong about this? What if we're Warren Buffett about tech? But then you would go and look deep and see what are you building? Well, you're building for other developers to then build. To build what? To then build for consumers. Build what for consumers? We'll build things like play to earn. Well, what's play to earn? Well, it's this amazing thing. Imagine if every time you played a game, you made money. I'm yeah, but that doesn't make sense. I mean, people are willing to spend money to play games. How are you going to make money playing games? Well, that's the power of crypto. And it turns out, there is this game called Axie Infinity, and it's probably one of the largest pyramid schemes in history, where instead of just being a pyramid scheme, you get to play the game as well. But it's basically a pyramid scheme where people pay money to enter the game, and then people play the game to make money. And then the more people are in the game, then the new people have to pay more money to get into the game. And it's just a big, fat pyramid scheme.
Let me take a step back. Where do we invest today? We hate hype, right? And the most hyped thing today is generative AI. So We're definitely not investing in generative AI.
You are not?
We are not investing in generative AI. It's it's going to be crazy valuations. So there's a hype curve, right? And the hype curve starts with a technology trigger, new technology, Google Glass, generative AI, crypto, the blockchain, whatever it is. And what happens? You get this peak hype, right? The peak of inflated expectations. This industry is going to change everything.
Yeah.
So it's going to change the financial system as we know it. Google Glass is going to change how we view the world.
Or tell me.
Generative AI. Exactly. Tell me who's going to bring the internet to the phone. Literally, you would dial 1-800-555 and speak to the phone. This is before smartphones. So actually, it was very
7 years later.
7 years later, Apple launched an iPhone, killed the vision, killed the hope, but we'll find an acquirer. And then what happens? Then obviously this doesn't happen, and at a minimum, it doesn't happen very quickly. And then you get this massive fall into sort of a total disillusionment. And it's at that point that I think a lot of sectors become very interesting, right? When there's a proven technology, proven demand, entrepreneurs who are not trying to make a quick buck, but they genuinely are driven by some problem that they think this technology is good for. And that's where you get the higher returns. So where are we right now? we're in a disillusionment for crypto. So folks left behind with their use case, we would happily take a meeting. We would have never taken a meeting last year, right? Today, where are we in the peak inflation expectations? It is all about crypto. It's all about where are we in peak hype? Today, what sector is in peak hype? Generative AI.
Yes.
Just read what's being written about it.
Ramy, that would be a fair argument for crypto being a category now, right? It's past peak hype.
I know, and we actually are open to investment. We actually made an investment in a blockchain related, in a company that uses a blockchain.
You're kidding.
Only they did not. They would, I swear to God, but they would not use they don't use the word blockchain anywhere on the website. It's a business that helps with ticketing for venues and for events, and they allow the venue or the artist to actually partake in the secondary transactions that take place after the primary transactions have taken place, after initial ticket sales, in order to prevent fraud and scalping.
It's a means to an end. It's not the primary value.
And they don't even use the word blockchain anywhere, because if they say in the blockchain, the artist would actually freak out. And to me, I'm like, that's great. That's actually a real use case as opposed to a hyped use case. So,
yes, technology should be invisible. So it begs the question, what the heck happened with FTX, right? We had this debacle. Much has been written about it. Who do you think deserves the blame and is not getting their fair share?
It's all of us that believed that we can invest in the things that will go up in price, and then we're going to make money. And we were partaking in the largest pyramid scheme. VCs in particular take a substantially large part of the blame. It's actually a big reason behind the Fortune article. I did do this post in 2017, shitting on crypto, but more importantly, at the end of it, saying, look, it's our response, as retired Americans start putting their life savings in cryptocurrencies, it's really our responsibility as a VC to call out the BS. We can't just keep hyping it. So many more of the VCs hyped it, right? You could get people and coined new terms that really obfuscated what was happening behind the scenes. My favorite being, play to earn. What is play to earn? I mean, since we were kids, we always had to pay to play. We had to go to the arcade and you had to pay money to play, because playing is so much fun that you always had to spend money to play. But, VCs and Andreesen in particular were really big on no. We're in a new era of play to earn. You play this game and you make money. Well, where's that money coming from?
Yeah.
Oh, it's from you don't understand it. You're a Web2 kind of guy. It's Web3.
You don't get it.
You don't get it, right? And of course, where is the money coming from? It's coming from the new players in the game. It's the largest pyramid scheme. Classic new entrant to the game.
It's like multi-level marketing.
MLM is legal.
Yeah.
Right. This was a little bit different because the new ones would pay anyway. So there's a very subtle difference between the two. But at the end of the day, so many people in the Philippines in particular people were quitting their jobs in the Philippines to play Axis Infinity, right? The company's worth billions and billions of dollars. And you look at its curve, there was an entire industry where folks would quit their jobs, take a loan to enter the game, and then they pay back that loan from the money they made into the game. So now you started having leverage in the system, all participating into this massive pyramid scheme under the title of play to earn and Web3 and crypto. And that was just a very sad example, I think, of the business that people should not have backed.
So we're going to talk about Andreesen later, but for now, I want to talk briefly about Union Square. So we recently had Brad Burnham on the show, and Fred published his predictions for 2023. Here's his comments on crypto and Web3. There is a much larger overhang in Web3 right now when compared to the broader startup and tech sectors. There are entities that are insolvent but have not been restructured. There are funds that are so far underwater that they may be forced to liquidate. These kinds of activities will produce ongoing sell pressure on Web3 tokens for at least the first quarter of 2023 and maybe for much longer. While there are compelling values out there in Web3, I am not convinced that it is safe to go back into the water just yet unless you have a very strong stomach and a very long time horizon. And hopefully you're wearing shorts as well. Ramy, this runs counter a bit to your all-in Web3 2023 strategy, yes?
Of course. Still counter or so what is Web3?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Well, none of us.
Maybe it's generative AI now.
Well, actually, there was an article that was written by NFX, one of my favorite, where they said, generative AI is the new Web3, but there's only Web3, so we're going to call it Web3B. My problem is all of these, with the Web3, with the crypto, with the metaverse, is we're trying to predict the future. And we think that as venture capitalists, all we have to do is find new sexy technologies and tell the world it's going to be the basic foundation of everything. And that's how money is made. But we're so bad at this as VCs, right? People who are really good at this are founders.
Yes.
And those founders don't use buzzwords. They just have some insight into a problem that you and I have no idea what it is. And they are leveraging technological improvements that are generally way more subtle than generative AI or in the blockchain. Just let's take a very simple example. What was the biggest exit of 2022? It's Figma, acquired by Adobe.
Yes.
Right? When did Figma raise its seed? 2013, 2014, right? What was Figma's core insight? Right? That if web technology has become advanced enough that I can collaborate in UI on a browser as opposed to an application. All of this, WebSockets, right? So were WebSockets on the front page of any big tech magazine in 2013, 2014?
I don't think they made the hype curve, Ramy.
Never made it to the hype curve. They never made it. Yeah, they never made it to the hype curve to start with. People were investing money in just Google Glass. Applications were being built for the Google Glass. It was going to be a new ecosystem and whatnot. So let's just stop. I would just say, so my advice to VCs, try to resist the urge to have a point of view about the future. And instead, try to have a point of view about the present. And your point of view should not be about technology. It should not be about market. It should be about consumer behavior. What are consumers doing? And if you understand that, you will find amazing investment.
Ramy, you realize this position runs counter to the so-called smartest VCs at Union Square, Sequoia, Andreesen. You stand alone.
No, that's not true. Benchmark says exactly the same thing.
Okay. All right.
Benchmark is all about we don't predict the future. We try to analyze the present. And I think Sequoia's been pretty good as well.
Benchmark's been pretty active in crypto.
Benchmark just did the Chainalysis. Benchmark has not been, but which is a real application, okay. Chainalysis. But and then Sequoia, they did do a few things here and there. So just 2 weeks literally before FTX exploded, Sequoia published this article on their website called "Sam Berkman-Fried has a savior complex, and maybe you should too." And it's this entire article dedicated to how the founder of FTX lives his life by a calculus of altruistic impact. So bad. Like, it is so bad.
I think they took it down.
They took it down, but you can find web archive.
Yes.
We can put the link in there. And, so yes, mistake. It's fine.
I think the investment's a pretty small percentage of that fund.
Yeah, I think probably Sequoia's biggest mistake, candidly, is adapting too fast to the time last year and launching this massive, never-ending, we're going to keep on changing the structure to hold on to public equities. VC is a business that just doesn't scale. It doesn't scale very much.
Yeah.
If you want to run a $100 billion fund, go start a hedge fund, go start a private equity fund, go start a public markets fund. That's where there's enough capital to make returns there.
Tiger's got a playbook on that they can look at.
Tiger, right. Vision Fund.
We got to transition from crypto and trashing crypto. Let's talk a bit about the environment now. Fundraising environment, not too kind to early stage founders, to growth stage founders. We were just talking about Fred Wilson's predictions. He says on valuations, I believe that the new normal is more or less where we were in 2015, where seed rounds were done around 10 million, A rounds were done around 15 to 25 million, B rounds were done around 25 to 50 million, and growth rounds had a cap at 10x revenues. This new normal will lead to many flat rounds, down rounds, inside rounds, and rounds with a lot of structure on them. None of that is good, but the worst of those options is rounds with a lot of structure. I believe founders and CEOs and boards should take the pain of a new valuation, flat down or whatever, over structure. Ramy, do you think Fred is too bearish here?
No, I don't think he's bearish at all. Fred Wilson's predictions are spot on the late stage, but the early stage has been tough. The valuations haven't come down to the 10 million level. We do an occasional 5 and a 7.5, but still some of the best founders are raising at 20 and 25 seed. It's problematic, but it's not going away. And it's not going away because, unlike in 2015, where seed funds were tiny little funds, today every multi-stage fund has a big seed program, and they treat seed as a source of deal flow, as a call option really, where they're ownership sensitive but not valuation sensitive. And so we're seeing a lot of 5 and 25 million posts from later stage funds because it's much better. And I worry about that. I worry that the seed returns, candidly, will be seed returns for typically in a down round, you end up getting really good returns. I like to say I'm playing where the best value is, but I don't believe that's the case today. Seed is historically the best place to play in venture, but right now the seed valuations have not come down in line with the rest of the market, which inevitably will lead into worse returns.
Well, and if Fred is right that A rounds are going to be done between 15 and 25, that's going to be pretty tough if seed rounds are in that range.
I don't disagree. But it takes a long time before enough of these happen to then trickle down to the seed. It might take another year, right?
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate.
Could be a challenge. What advice do you have for founders?
Build something people want, hasn't changed. Make sure it's profitable on a unit economic basis. You don't need to be cash flow positive as a business, but make sure you really have a business. Right. There are companies that need cash to scale. There's companies that need cash to survive. Make sure you're in the latter bucket. You're in the former bucket. Make sure you're in the former bucket. Right. That you truly need money to scale, but that on a unit economic basis, you have a business. So these are founders who are getting started. Late stage founders, what advice do I have to them? Reset your expectations. This is a different market. This is a different world. You need to take a big cut in your valuation. There are many ways to do it. If you're lucky enough to have enough war chest to live, to fight for another day without a new round, that's great. Do the necessary layoffs and continue to live. But for most other companies, you will need to do a down round. Fred Wilson's advice, avoid structure. So just take a step back. A down round is, we've raised $100 million. We're going to raise our next down at 60. That's called a down round. The structure is we've raised $100 million. Well, I'm going to raise a new round now at 100. But the new investors didn't want to do it at 100. They want to do it at 60. And so I'm going to give them a little nugget.
Liquidation preference, participating preferred.
I'm going to do liquidation preference. I'm going to do structured warrants. I'm going to do in-kind distributions. I'm going to do in-kind dividends, which is basically increases so your shares effectively give birth to small little shares over time. Fred Wilson is not wrong that structure can be bad, but he's wrong that saying that structure is absolutely the worst thing to do, because not all structures are created equally. For example, warrants is a very simple thing, right? Hey, invest now at the $100 million valuation, and we're going to give you 10% more common warrants. So basically, you're effectively investing at 90, but also the addition is common. And you can give warrants to the new investor in this round, and in the future rounds, you don't need to give other warrants.
That's right. It's exclusive to the round that's being invested in.
It's very different than a 3x liquidation preference.
Right.
The guy before me
doesn't go away.
Before this doesn't go away, the next person is also going to 3x. So I actually think warrants are. We had one of our companies raise a round with some warrants to make it flat with the last round, or a little bit of. Actually, they did an up round, but with the warrants would have been flat. And it's not the end of the world. It's a little gimmicky, but it doesn't. It's neither here nor there. Some other structures are really bad. Liquidation preference is terrible. But also you have to understand why Fred's giving the advice. Why Bill Gurley before him. Bill Gurley has a great quote from great article also in 2016. Specifically about how structures are bad and down rounds are good. For existing investors, down rounds are not terrible. Hey, I just get a little bit of a repricing. If I participate in the last round, maybe I have an anti-dilution provisions like a full ratchet, but more often a broad-based weighted average anti-dilution provision where I get a little bit more shares as part of this. And, but with structure, like a liquidation preference, all of a sudden the new investors really have way more power than the existing ones. Mm-hmm. And so existing investors will always tell the founder, don't do a structure. As an existing investor in most of these, I'm a seed investor, so I'm always going to be a seed investor. Of course, I prefer if you don't do structure, but the right structure is going to be fine.
Well, and it's got to be a structure that also doesn't adversely affect the common holders, right? The founders, which in many cases, these full ratchets and stuff can. Ramy, I got to tell you, we recently had an offer come through for one of our portfolio companies on a seed round, and I could not believe the terms that were in this term sheet. I had never seen anything like this. I wish I could remember them all, but one of the terms entitled the lead investor, who was putting in a few $100,000. This was not a huge investment. They're putting in a few $100,000. It entitled them to invest, I think, up to another $1 million over the next 18 months at the same price. That was one. Another thing is they were taking a board seat and they wanted to be compensated like kings for this board seat, and their compensation ratcheted up over time with revenue. So they were going to get probably 2x their initial investment or more back. I mean, I've never seen compensation for a board seat for a seed stage company. It was bananas. Fortunately, the founder found capital elsewhere and didn't have to take money. But you're starting to see things come out that even I've been at this since 2013 as an angel. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah, some of this stuff I've seen in the developing world. In international VCs, when you're the big player in a tiny little market. Some of it we used to do at Coast Level, the tranches.
Yeah, the tranches. I've seen the tranches, yeah.
I don't believe this is a great time to be a VC either. I think we're really seeing a bipolar distributions in companies between the haves and the have-nots. the companies that could raise and the companies that can't raise. And the companies that can raise are I think still maintain very much similar power as they did last year, because they still get to choose between so many VCs and there's so much capital chasing them. But then for the rest of the companies, cheap capital is no longer accessible.
If you're a founder out there and you can pull in capital at friendly terms, take it, even if it's not at the valuation you want, because cash is leveraged right now and it's hard to come by.
So you asked me, by the way, what's your advice to founders?
Yes.
And I would say, first of all, figure out what your priorities are. If you're a Series B, Series C company, your priority right now should be to survive, live to fight another day. If you're a Series B or a Series C company right now, your priority should be like, first, I need to live to fight another day. And then B, I need to make sure I have the resources to fight, meaning I can retain my best. And I have the capacity to raise subsequent rounds, not just this one round. And last, I need to make sure I have enough skin in the game. And then from that, figure out, great, I need to do a down round. I'll do a down round. I'll make sure that the top people in my company are still compensated. I will make sure that if some of the top performers no longer, are getting way diluted, I'll make sure get an equity grant and provide them with additional shares. Actually, they did that to us to tell me. Like, I had exercised my options at the $1.95, and then they repriced it to a penny, but they give us a lot more shares. And this is 22 years ago, and it's still like something every business should do if they can. And then make sure also, if you're totally crushed, like, look, your new investors will work with you to make sure that you're compensated. If they wouldn't give you, if your equity is too low, ask for a performance-based equity grant. Right? Go to your investors and be like, look, you're investing $100 million. I make this a $400 million business. Can I just get like 3% more common? Nobody's going to say no. If you're going to 4x my money, sure.
And then quickly, before we move on from this, Ramy, explain sort of how VCs will structure these deals in tranches. We mentioned that before, but explain how that actually works.
I really don't like tranches, personally. I try to avoid any investment structure that creates expectations in the future that will then ruin my relationship with the founder. I try to deploy as much of the capital up front as possible and not deal with a crazy negotiation with the founder down the road. It's part of the advantage of being a seed investor. But later stage funds don't have that luxury. They're always thinking about pro rata. They're always, they're kind of like buyers and sellers of the stock every day. Takes is pretty straightforward, right? You get a term sheet that says we're going to invest $2 million, $1 million today, and $1 million in 8 months. And or $1 million within the next 12 to 18 months at the same valuation. And there are different ways. Sometimes it's just a very simple call option. I have the right to invest on $1 million. Sometimes it's a conditional provision. Mm-hmm. I will invest $1 million contingent on the company meeting X and Y criteria. All of them are painful, right? All of them are painful because as a founder, you're not sure if you're meeting the criteria or you're not meeting the criteria. You're not sure if the investor is going to invest and they're not going to invest and they're never going to give you. You're never going to know for sure until you get the money in the bank. It makes it very hard to really plan your spending. Like one of the advantages of really the current drawn structure of raise every 18 months or 2 years or a year and a half is I know what my plan is for the next 18 months. My hiring plan, my recruiting plan, my spending plan. It makes it a little tough with these structures.
I can't imagine the stress when you're, on 3-month or 6-month performance benchmarks, especially pre-product market fit. I mean, whether you're pre or post, it's stressful. When you're trying to find the key segment and trying to lock in on the ideal sort of form factor and application, that's not a time to be so focused on performance benchmarks because then you'll get it wrong.
100%.
So Ramy, I want to move on to the segment I'm going to call The Biggest Loser. Here we're going to talk about the biggest loser of this decade so far. So the 2020s, and then also the biggest loser going forward. So I want your take on each, and I'm going to give you a quick fire set of options here. So first one, biggest loser of the 2020s and going forward, CEO. Who's been the biggest loser amongst tech CEOs of the 2020s so far?
Well, the biggest loser in terms of the largest drop in wealth is Elon Musk. He has lost more in his net worth than anybody else in history. But that's because he started at such a high spot. Biggest loser moving forward, Mark Zuckerberg, for sure. I mean, he's so fucked.
Tell me more. I think I know what your answer to the biggest tech loser is going to be. But
exactly. And because the biggest tech loser in the next years is going to be Facebook. Facebook are losing everything. There's an old quote that companies die like people go bankrupt, first slowly, then rapidly. And I think we're seeing Facebook slowly move into the more rapid decline, right? They're losing their users. Young people don't want to use the products at all. They even use Instagram, only on TikTok, right? The older ones that are still using the product, Facebook can't monetize them as much as effectively as they used to. either because they can't cross promote or because of Apple's and other tracking regulation, or because of the way they sell ads to start with, as we're seeing by like some antitrust stuff happening in Europe, like anti-privacy concerns happening in Europe. The business does not own a platform. It's a really, I would not want to be in their shoes.
So they threw a Hail Mary and it was Meta and the metaverse. That doesn't look like it's going to work out so well. Do they have another Hail Mary they can throw? Is there a company they can acquire or a move they can make to?
I think actually, if you want to invest in the metaverse, right, why not just acquire Fortnite? I mean, that is the metaverse today. Why not acquire that platform and try to build on top of it instead of inventing, justifying an Oculus acquisition that you did in 2013?
What's your position on the next few years for Google, right? A lot of people are saying they're going to lose their search dominance with ChatGPT and other things coming out. Do you think the future is suspect for Google?
Google is always a mystery to me. They are so wasteful, but then they always do something right and own a platform, truly a platform. If you think about actually just the brilliance of Android, Microsoft's whole existence goes back to 1982 when Bill Gates decided that we're just going to build Windows and MS-DOS, really MS-DOS, and then Windows, and run on any piece of hardware. Yeah, it was a brilliant strategy, and we're going to capture all the value, and the hardware will be commoditized. And that's exactly, now you'd expect Microsoft to have done the same thing with the phones. Instead, they actually tried to build this Windows CE and Cassiopeia and a bunch of devices that went nowhere. They tried to both own the hardware and the software. Google took Microsoft's playbook and applied it to mobile. We're just going to build the OS. And they did it so well. And they now own, in the US, a little under 50% market share, but globally way more. YouTube.
Well, they have a phone as well, for the record, but
Google does have a phone. That's correct. That is correct. That is absolutely correct. And maybe that what Microsoft should have done, they should have decoupled the software from the hardware and offered the software to everybody.
But they did fine, nonetheless. Yeah.
Not on mobile.
Well, Microsoft as a company.
100%. They did fine by embracing the cloud for enterprises, not by becoming a consumer product company.
Right.
But it's a missed opportunity because they tried. So Google got it right with Android. They got it right with YouTube. It's been a fucking 20-year acquisition. I don't know. They bought it. It's been forever, right? But it's doing the right thing with YouTube. Very slowly, very methodically. And Google has never succeeded being an enterprise company. It's a joke. Like Google has all of our files, has all of our documents, has all of our emails. Like it's a single point of failure for us as a fund, and we pay them like $100 a month. I think I pay more to Zoom or. It's amazing. They just have such a lousy enterprise offering and enterprise business, but it doesn't matter. So good at consumer. And YouTube is another really incredible contingent. I mean, YouTube is really, they've done a great job staying relevant. Yeah, it's not TikTok, but the small short videos have been great. It's an amazing time suck. It's a number one.
What about the future for search though? With ChatGPT and other options for getting the answer that you want faster.
With the pressure Google has a technology with Lambda. I don't think any tech pundit has ever gotten the opportunity to truly test Lambda side by side with ChatGPT. So Google makes Lambda, OpenAI makes ChatGPT to see which is better. Yeah. But my understanding is pretty damn good, right? I mean, wasn't the whole lawsuit last year, or when this person who was working on it came out and said it's becoming a real person? Like, it must be pretty damn good. And so I think, sounds like it's pretty good. It sounds pretty good at passing the Turing test. And so Google has a technology. They haven't really deployed it fully with search because they're afraid of getting the answers wrong. But I think right now they're just going to have to move that because ChatGPT gets it wrong all the time. Like it's just a language model. It reads the web and rewrites it. That's all it does.
All right, moving on. Who's been the biggest loser so far amongst tech villains in the 2020s? You've got some good options.
I mean, SBF is. 3 weeks ago, it was third. It was
Elizabeth Holmes.
It was Elizabeth Holmes, but I think SBF is that's a very rapid fall from grace.
It is, but it was all kind of bullshit in the first place. I mean,
I agree.
If I had to choose, I think I'd go Travis Kalanick. And I know it's not a popular answer, but Uber could have been Meituan. I mean, it could have been the biggest company in the world by orders of magnitude.
I tend to side honestly with the Travis Emil camp on this. I don't think they should have been outsetted. I think Benchmark made a mistake. Mm-hmm. But his hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
And
we all make mistakes.
But you're absolutely right. I think there's so much opportunity for her. I couldn't agree with you more. Travis is a very unique individual. There's no reason for Uber to be a global company except that Travis thought globally. Like, we take it for granted that, it's Uber. Uber's in every country. I mean, like, we invested in Square when I was at Coastal. It's an amazing business. Why does Square not go to every company. It's actually a much easier thing to replicate locally than Uber. But they didn't. Instead, you had a bunch of iZettle, which was acquired by eBay and other local competitors in Europe and the Middle East and Africa. It's just the founder didn't think globally, but Travis really thought globally. And he wanted to do Instacart, and he would have done it globally, not just locally. And I think they could have added a lot more value to the business. Probably Lyft wouldn't exist. I mean, Lyft really rose to prominence during that year, 2017, when Benchmark was basically kicking out Travis, right? And the company was a shit show. So, but hindsight is 2020, and maybe Travis was really not fit to run a publicly traded company. I don't know, but I think he is probably the most, I would put him on the same league as Elon Musk, a once in a generation founder.
Okay. And then finally, you talked about one of your hero firms making a tough mistake, Benchmark. Which VC firm was the biggest loser of the 2020s? And I'm going to give you two options. Okay. I want you to guess who the first option is here. Okay. So this firm raised their first crypto fund of $300 million in 2018. Their second crypto fund of $515. Dang it. You're too fast, Ramy. Okay. So second crypto fund, $515 in 2020. Third crypto fund, $2.2 billion in 21. Fourth crypto fund, $4.5 billion in 22. The flagship fund is down 40%. Coinbase, one of the primary logos there, their shares have tumbled 77% in 2022. So that's one option. Andreesen versus Tiger.
Well, these are different. These are different stages, right? I think Tiger had to get fucked, but Andreesen chose to get. Tiger did not expand too fast. Tiger had a strategy that I believe made sense, and they might have expanded a little bit too fast, but ultimately the entire asset class was screwed. And Andreesen had something that's working really well. Andreesen is a great Series A fund. I really believe they innovated. And you think about the founding of Andreesen, they sort of positioned kind of against like Benchmark. Like, we're going to provide services and we're going to really help all the entrepreneurs will tell you the services are bullshit, right? But by all means, Andreesen did a phenomenal job building a brand over the past decade. They then used their success to try and expand and become everything for everybody and raise as much capital as they possibly can. And everybody would tell you, and we have some of our LPs who are very big LPs in Andreesen, and they would tell you, look, we do it for the name, but we know that there's no way we're going to get great returns when we're investing in a $2 billion fund and a $5 billion fund and a $10 billion fund. But you don't want to be the LP. It's like buying IBM. If you work for an endowment, or you're not going to get fired for, nobody gets fired for buying IBM. Nobody gets fired for investing in Andreesen. Us VCs love to hate on Andreesen. All VCs love to hate on Andreesen. But it doesn't matter what we think, because we're not the customers. We're the competitors. Who are the customers? It's entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs think very highly of Andreesen. Ask any entrepreneur who the top 3 or 4 firms are. They would always name Andreesen, even though if you ask VCs, they don't. Their customers think they're number one, and that's what matters. And then who is the other set of customers? It's LPs. And the LPs think Andreesen is the best because there's been more capital that have been deployed into Andreesen fund than in any other fund. So they're doing fine.
This is why I asked the question, Ramy, because I feel like Andreesen's brand has persisted as a respected brand amongst many stakeholders in the ecosystem, and Tiger's has just taken a shot. Yet the two of them, on paper, if you look at money lost, Tiger's is probably higher, but it's probably pretty close.
I don't have access to the numbers. I think it's easy Tiger's brand is associated with something in particular, which is a late stage growth pre-IPO rounds. And Andreesen's brand is very broad right now. Just this mega fund, multi-stage crypto seed. Seed funds love to hate on Andreesen because Andreesen typically invests in the seed fund, but also launched a competitor for a $100 million fund. It's kind of that's all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, Nick. I don't know why is it that, and it's a very poignant point. Why is it that Andreesen has retained its brand, particularly with founders? Maybe they are doing something right. Maybe they're a good brand. Maybe it helps that you're running a media company in parallel.
Yeah, they're also kind of a mile wide and an inch deep, and there's a lot of personalities involved now. So I feel like Mark and Ben are kind of beyond reproach at this point, and any one strategy could be a loser, right? But that will not sink the firm.
As a founder at this day and age, if Andreesen's going to offer me a check, I would happily take it.
Yeah. And it's probably going to be at a better price with more favorable structure than many others.
And and the icing on the cake was the services model, which if you don't use it, it's fine.
Yes. Mixed reviews on that. Okay, Ramy, we're going to transition to sectors and categories 2023. I want to hear what you're bullish and bearish on. We'll do this quick fire. Okay, so tell me, are you bullish? Are you bearish? And a quick why, starting with generative AI.
I'm bearish. Great demos, unclear applications, way too much capital chasing too few opportunities.
Climate.
Oh, very bearish. Dude, I started my career at Coastlet, like biggest cleantech fund at the time.
That's why I put these two together.
Yeah, you want to solve the set. There is this inconvenient truth. Remember the inconvenient truth, which book
Al Gore.
By Al Gore.
No,
the inconvenient truth is that there is a second inconvenient truth about the climate. It can't be solved with software.
Yeah,
and every
science.
founder, it's science, it's materials, it's manufacturing. Wind turbines. You know how much software goes to a wind turbine? Not much. You know what?
As a percentage of total spend, it's
how much software goes into even printing a solar cell. So it's all about 3D printing a 10 nanometer scale. It's not a software problem, and so many people try to solve it with software, and that doesn't generate interesting businesses. And then the actual companies that are doing interesting stuff in hardware requires so much capital that it's hard for me to. Yeah. It's too capital intensive to be exciting for venture. So we don't do much climate.
But Ramy, the government just pumped a ton of money into the sector under the veil of something they called, I think, the Inflation Reduction Act.
And they did the same thing in 2007. And our fund at Coastlaw was $1 billion fund that was a huge beneficiary of it. That fund did great. And you know why? Because we invested in Square. One good thing.
Great for VC fund formation. It was bad for VC fund returns. Okay, next, Ramy, crypto and blockchain.
Blockchain is interesting. Some interesting applications. We'll take a look. Most of the money chasers are gone. So if real applications emerge, we'll be excited about it.
Okay, next we've got Bitcoin. I think it's at 16K today. Are we up or down? The episode is called Predictions, Ramy. I know you hate making predictions, but I have to ask.
I could toss a coin or ask our driver. No idea.
All right, D2C products.
I think most are bad, but a couple. Most are spending more money to acquire users than they're making from the users. But if you have positive unit economics, it's always a business.
Data as a platform or service.
I'm bearish.
Okay. Elder care.
Healthcare is a disaster. Look, digital health is a fascinating category. It's like the biggest sector of the economy, but it's just does not create good returns for venture. And I have a very hard time articulating why. I can hypothesize. Weird structure of payers. So much of the money is spent on very expensive services. Too many rent seekers. Too regulatory. Quarter of our fund is in healthcare. Or 20% of our fund is in healthcare, and we have a bunch of things in the elder care. We just invested in a really exciting company that provides software for elder care homes that we're very called Exacare that my partner Aaron invested in, which is very, very exciting. I'm very excited about elder care startups. Look, digital health is tough. Digital health always ends up with somehow this amazing Andreesen, who we love to shit on, we just shat on, actually just published a really cool article titled "The largest company is going to be a healthcare company. The largest company in the world is going to be a healthcare company," and I agree with that. A good brand consumer product that using data and technology to really provide personalized medicine at home all sounds great. So, but historically, healthcare returns have not been great. Digital health have not been great. People talk about one medical waste so much money until it's finally got acquired. It's not real returns. Elder care, massive trend, massive sector. We just invested in a company called Exacare, which provides software for assisted living community, and we're really excited about. So I'm bullish on elder care startups.
You're bullish.
Yes.
Okay. Ramy is bullish on the silver tsunami, as they call it. All right. Next, we've got self-driving AI. Tough year for that.
Look, I think it's going to be a good. That peaked in 2018, 2019, and crashed in terms of the hyperinflation. I think we're getting to a point where the technology is actually inching up. You're going to start seeing more cars on the road. You're going to start seeing more trucks on the road that are fully autonomous. Is it great for early stage startups? Hard for me to see a seed stage startup being really competitive in the game right now.
Tesla, on the other hand, should be a boon for them.
I'd love to buy a 3-year put option on Tesla.
Ramy, tech in Latin America.
And tough. Latin America is in a tough spot. Lots of structural challenges. So much of a lot of these developing parts of the world had developed an early stage ecosystem financing, but not late stage. Like who was doing the late stage financing at them? It was Tiger. Mm-hmm. And so you really have had
And
a flight
SoftBank.
of, and SoftBank, and you really had a flight of capital away. Founders are really struggling to raise. I am very bullish that this region has just as many opportunities as, probably more, as many other exciting developing economies. It's very close to the US. There is some amazing talent, really good software, really antiquated industries. But the venture subsequent financing risk is so significant in that range. So if you're an early stage VC, I'd say like focus on that. I was like, power to you. If things work out, you should have ridiculous returns because opportunities are enormous. But the question is, how can you secure the subsequent financing for these business?
Yeah, it's tricky because right now we're seeing flight to quality across the board, which really means pedigreed teams, that came with real tech experience in the US, in San Francisco primarily. And everything else is, it's a struggle. It's a struggle to get the funding. All right. Speaking of that, San Francisco, what's bullish, bearish on San Francisco?
There's going to be some rebound, but I'm bearish on San Francisco.
Ooh, hot take. How about New York City?
I'm seeing more of our founders move to New York. None of our founders in Fund 2 move to SF to start a company, right? People who are in SF, just looking at our portfolio companies, there's a very interesting trend, right? In Fund 1, which is a 2018 vintage for us, a number of our founders in the Bay Area are folks who moved to the Bay Area, right? They came here for YC and decided to stay. They came here because that was the place to be, right? And they have stayed. Look at my Fund 2, which is a 2021 vintage. Not a single founder in the Bay Area in that fund moved to the Bay Area. They're all people who are already in the Bay Area. And that's the fundamental problem. People are not moving to SF.
Wow.
People are not moving to SF because you don't need to be in SF to start a company. And crypto had a huge hand there. Crypto was sort of the biggest segment that totally had like zero dependency on SF as a residence. Primarily for tax reasons. Like, I could do it in Miami, I could do it in Puerto Rico, and just call it a day. And also part of it is just like fintech was historically more East Coast trend, and it was a more global in nature. But then late stage companies are also not requiring, Facebook Salesforce just laid off 10% today. Facebook is not hiring obviously new people. The big tech employers aren't attracting talent and aren't asking these talent to come to the office. So it's very hard for me to see people move to SF.
Well, there was a time where you'd go to the Bay Area and you could feel the energy. You could feel the tech zeitgeist, right? It was your community of antagonistic, optimistic contrarians that were trying to build something great, right? And you no longer need to go to San Francisco to get that.
I mean, San Francisco, it's like Wall Street. You no longer do you know where Wall Street is? It's between Main Street and some other streets in New York City, but it means something else entirely. And I really think Silicon Valley is going to be exactly like Wall Street. It started in Silicon Valley, but it's becoming a global phenomenon, and it means something else entirely. I'll give you a terrible example. Burning Man. Burning Man used to be this amazing thing that only doesn't really happen in California, right? But it was a tech thing. Like, it was this crazy party in the desert where you like dress in furry things and like, do psychedelics and have LED lights. It's everywhere. There's a burn everywhere. There's a mini burn everywhere. Right. You can go to like hot clubs in Mykonos like Scorpius and you feel like you're in Burning Man. Right. It was a great idea, but it's now everywhere. Maybe that was not very powerful.
Well, and I mean, look at the attendees to Burning Man. It's different now, right? All right. Finally, let's wrap up here, Ramy, with some quick predictions for 2023. Ramy Adeeb, what will be the hottest sector or category of the year, whether you like it or not?
I can't make those predictions.
Come on, man. Generative AI.
Whatever is going to be hot at the end of the year is not going to, whatever exits we have this year, they're going to be very exciting companies that none of us could have envisioned the same way. Nobody would have thought it was going to be Figma last year.
Okay. Well, how about this? What will be the biggest category that no one is talking about?
I am really excited about just the opportunities given to small tech startups. There is a pattern that happens in enterprise software of a recycling of vendors. Like, there was Oracle, and then there was like this other storage company, and then it became, and then you get Snowflake. One of my favorite facts of all times is the founders of Zoom are exactly the same founders of WebEx, right? They were acquired by Cisco, and then Cisco WebEx, and then they just left and literally started the same damn company with a flight improvement. Right? This pattern of the recycling of tech is something
better UX, though. Easier,
better UX. One-click login from your cell phone. They solved so many problems that like people need us. We're going to see so many tech companies struggle to innovate. And that will give an amazing opportunity for young enterprise SaaS companies using modern tunings to just deliver more targeted products. Another sector that is really exciting for me, the verticalization of enterprise software, right? The Procore 4X, basically going after SAP and Oracle and Microsoft with targeted solutions in specific sectors. Because software is so much easier to build today, right? I can build a CRM that is just targeted to your needs as a laundromat, or I can build a CRM that is targeted to your need as elderly care communities, much better than just using an existing CRM. And I can add a bunch of products and stuff. So I think that verticalization is actually going to be very interesting.
See, the most interesting things to you and me, Ramy, are probably putting our audience to sleep right now. Verticalization of SaaS and unbundling of SaaS.
Can I try this one more time? Okay, generative AI. I want you to imagine a web that is not, the first web, Nick, was just a read-only web, right? You just read things. You couldn't contribute to it. But then came the read-write web. And the read-write web was one where you could contribute to it. There's a Google Docs and there's Sheets and there's forums and you can interact with it. And now we have the generative web, where the web itself is generated.
Much better.
And that's the future. By the way, I do want to credit NFX for that blog post, which makes for a good read.
We will have to link that post in the comments. It's quite enjoyable to read. Ramy, it's always a pleasure, sir. You're one of the greatest. Thank you so much for the extra time, and looking forward to chopping it up again next year.
Thank you, Nick. Amazing podcast. Always a pleasure to be a guest on your show.
Love it, man. Take care. That will wrap up today's episode. Thanks for joining us here on the show. As always, show notes and links for the interview are at fullratchet.net. And until next time, remember to over-prepare, choose carefully, and invest confidently. Thanks for joining us.